Youth of Purpose. Brought to you by Uganda First.
Tulibana Uganda yadosula mukatango yocha kasoliwo tocha wansiyo yuwe Uganda nebogende bulaya no waso muzungu nze nempaso musoga techikuchusa yadde nyindo yoli mpamvu ata yoli nyimpi temutu sosola. We are brothers, etoke ne chinyebwa, lumonde ne kawo, yemele ya kuno, jagala nnyo Uganda, ndi muna Uganda, jagala nnyo Uganda, ndi mwana wa kuno, ndi mwana wa kuno.
Hello, welcome to Youth of Purpose, a show that is here to inspire you and equip you as a young person to be able to understand who you are and understand your country, your nation, Uganda, better. Now today we're going to be looking at something that is very crucial as far as nation building is concerned. We cannot be able to grow as a country without having morals and understanding our culture. As Ugandans, we well understand that Uganda has different cultures, but how can we in our different cultures be able to appreciate that and work in harmony to develop our country? And today I'm talking to the conservative in charge of education here at the Uganda Museum, Tatyabala Michael. Welcome to Youth of Purpose.
Thank you, Ivan.
Kindly say hello to the viewer.
Good afternoon, good evening, viewers, depending on how the time of the program. My name's Tatyabala Michael. I'm the senior conservator education at the Uganda Museum.
I love our African names so much. What is the meaning of your name?
Wow, interesting. You know, names in Africa are symbolic, and that's why we are Africans. My name, Tatyabala, means a gentleman who is not scared of girls.
Wow.
When I grew up and I was a bit inquisitive about that name. I took time to find out. So when I asked my father, he told me that in the olden days, names were given according to circumstance. So there was a gentleman who was very courageous at one time. I think he married about 12 women. Now, of course, people love to be associated with the popular people.
Oh yeah.
So when he produced some of us, he named some of us after such people.
That popular man.
Exactly, and that is how I got that name, Tatyabala.
Yeah.
However, it is a disclaimer, I may not really be the name itself. I'm a very humble person. Thank you.
Amazing. So I just do love the setting. When you look at the chairs that we're sitting on and our background, basically, what does this background, the granary, Echtara in Runyankole, I don't know what they call it in your language.
Echtara in Runyankole, in my place they call it Ekidero.
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 What is the significance of Ekidero?
When you look at Ekidero, that is a food store. And it is not only a food store, but it is a sign of food security in an area or in a home.
Yeah.
In the olden days, in many African settings, a home had to have the ekidero. It was mandatory and it was enforceable through the local authorities to ensure that you have such facilities, and they would guarantee that there is food in the society and in the community. Because once there is food, you can do the rest of other things very well, and that one actually propels development.
Wow, amazing. So today we're talking about the linkage between culture and morals. Kindly paint for us the picture of the standing of culture and morals today in Uganda.
Thank you, Ivan. You know, when we talk of culture, it is an embodiment. It is a reflection of the true Ugandans we are. For example, you can look at the chairs we are seated on.
Oh yeah, very comfortable.
They are actually African. When you look at most of the things we use, the traditional ones, they are African. But then there is some meaning behind each of these things. Not only the chairs, not only the tools, even some of the words which are spoken. We actually call it oral literature.
Oh, yes.
There is a lot of meaning and message behind those words, which actually was binding the youth and the society to the morals. Let's begin with, for example, the chairs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, chairs are a symbol of respect. The younger men, when we were growing up, you would not sit on a chair with your father.
Oh yeah.
Okay? And that one was inbuilt in amongst the children, within the children.
Whether your father is there or not.
Exactly. You do not sit on his chair. And that is where the beginning of the morals was.
The respect for
The
elders.
respect for elders. You would find that even when we grow up, actually you find that natural respect. However, it is unfortunate one of these days that, I don't know, because of globalization, that kind of behavior, those morals are breaking. People are getting derailed from them. People want to be on equal footing. It wouldn't be bad, but an elder was a symbol of wisdom. An elder was a symbol of respect, and he was an encyclopedia. Naturally, he knew more about the community than the younger men. And through that respect, we were able to humble ourselves and listen to them. They would mentor us, they would give us guidance, and honestly, some of us don't regret. We were caned by those elders for some small mistakes which we made, and it is from some of those canes that we are right now. They shaped us.
Wow.
So there is a very good linkage between culture
and
morals. There are actually many cultural artifacts, like you will see some of them in the museum.
Yeah.
They actually shape the morals in terms of respect, in terms of decency, in terms of hard work, in terms of focus. You find that all of them speak a language which shape you to a complete person at the end of the day.
Culture and identity. How do the two
Interesting.
connect?
So I told you my name is Tati Abala. If you started looking for Tati Abala in, for example, Britain, you will not get it.
Oh yeah.
You will only get it.
So that makes you stand out.
Very good. That is it connects me to my origin.
Wow.
And you people outside there, you should be very proud of your name.
Of your botanical name.
Because it links you. That is what I would call the umbilical cord. It is the one which connects you to your motherland, the real motherland.
Yeah.
Leave these names called John, Tom. You know, those ones, I don't want, you may not throw them, but they don't actually link us to our real heritage. So
Wow.
the traditional names link us to our real heritage. And take time, even you the viewer there, look at your name, trace back that the origin of that name. You'll find that there is a lot of meaning, and it links you to a very rich heritage. So here we are. Can we appreciate our African names? They are very beautiful, by the way.
Wow.
Hey.
Mr. Tati Abala.
Yes, my brother.
What are some of the cultural norms that are paramount or were paramount if we're to say this is an African, this is how an African behaves, this is how an Acholi behaves, this is how a Muganda behaves? What are those cultural norms that are paramount but also do cut across?
Yeah, one of them, you know, in Africa, first of all, children were children, okay? Then the young men were young men, the men were men, and the elders were elders.
And women were women.
Women were women. You do not cross until you reach that level. You don't jump. Say, now because I've gone to school and I'm maybe 20 years, I'm now an elder. No. There is a procedure, you must grow into it. You don't just jump. So with those levels well established, you would find that they actually trained us, they actually prepared us, because by the time you become an elder, you should have gone through a number of stages, and you should have been mentored, you should have sat with the elders, and they should have seen a seed of respect, a seed of trust in you before you are allowed to sit in the elders' council. And that one is very important because it kept the society, it turned the younger men, because everybody would be desirous to be like the grandpa. But you don't just become a grandpa out of the blue. You must work for it. And in the process of working for it, it created honesty, it created trust, it shaped our morals. That's why you find today, we normally read in the papers, there were a lot of cases of rape, a lot of cases of defilement. But get back to our African society, those cases were not there. The elders were elders. They would actually respect themselves. The youths would submit and listen to the elders. Today, we need to get back. The Baganda say, we need to get back to our roots and embrace culture and reshape the morals. Let's find, where did we lose the direction? Because we are losing the next generation. Children don't know where they are going, and we are likely to have a big problem with the moral decay. We need to get back, embrace our culture, and see the direction.
So as we take a tour around the museum, what are some of those artifacts that do represent African culture and the morals, the discipline, and the significance of those artifacts?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ivan. The Uganda Museum has a collection of very many cultural objects, and all of them, each of them actually has a language it speaks in the African context, and specifically in reference to the morals of the generation at the time. For example, I can take you to when we look at the baka cloth. Okay?
Yeah.
Baka cloth is a very important artifact. Originally it was in Buganda, but it has now spread to other areas. One, baka cloth speaks of creativity. The men who discovered the baka cloth, who actually thought outside the box. It makes a very nice, soft fabric. So it speaks of creativity. Then too, it speaks of employment. There were particular people, like in Uganda here, the clan, the Ngonge clan, were specifically baka cloth makers. While we have other tribes, other clans, which were herdsmen, others were farmers. So you find that each of these collections speaks and would actually tune the youth to a particular skill, and that one was very good for them. You can also look at things like mats. You know, a mat can be woven, it is well designed, but it is a symbol of respect and humility. African women and girls would never sit on the floor, okay? They would normally sit on the mat. And you see that even when the visitor comes, especially the female visitor, they bring a mat. Depending on the hierarchy, the level of the visitor, there are different mats. There are those which were designed, those which were made from palm leaves, different ones. So depending on the level at which the visitor is. If he's an in-law, you'd find that a special mat is brought. So the mats speak a very good language of humility and respect in society. talk of, for example, you walk with me to the showcase for spears, arrows. You can look at it as a defense,
Courage.
courage. But then you find that one, it teaches the younger men that this country, this area, this tribe is in your hands. You are responsible to defend it against all any invaders. But it also teaches them, because these spears were made from iron, that there was a skill of iron smelting, where they made the spears, they made the hoes, and those other implements which were used.
Oh, yeah.
So it does not actually, we don't put them there for display merely. They speak a lot, they have a lot of story behind them, especially to shape the morals and the character of the younger men.
Wow.
Apart from that, walk with me, you can come to the music section. You know, music is something which soothes the mind. Everybody, there is a saying that everybody loves music, right from the pop to the lowest man, who may be a man walking on the street. But music tones all of us down. Okay? So the musical instruments speak a lot. First of all, there are different types, and they all symbolize different kinds of ceremonies. It could be a marriage ceremony, it could be a funeral, it could be a twin birth celebration. Depending on the function, different instruments are brought and they speak the language. But most importantly, you find that these musical instruments would unify us as Africans. When we got to music, you would not actually see an enemy, you would not see what, you would see the real African solidarity. How I pray we would go back to those roots.
Something I would really want to understand. You see, there is a way African culture is portrayed to be backward, and certain people, try to show us there is a need for us to change and adopt some other cultures if we are to move forward. Say, for example, the myth of African women not being emancipated, that women were not respected in African culture.
From the cultural point of view, I think there was a misinformation by the people who propelled that idea. And probably they could also have been having their own agenda. You know, if you have your own agenda, you can shape your words in a particular direction. But African women were actually respected. Let me give you a simple example of the Karamojong women.
Yeah.
The role of the Karamojong women, they are in charge of construction. Actually, in Karamoja, it is the women who construct huts. It is the women who are in charge of the home. They have full control of the home. Let's come to Buganda. The food production, okay, and the management of the food security in the home was in the hands of the woman. The men would go to hunt, the men would go to defend, and then the women would play this role. It is actually very wrong to say that African women were actually being trampled on. Well, there could have been a few incidences by
which are still there
which
today.
Could be still there. But then the role divisions, there was division of labor in the African society, and that one trained the women to do the right thing, and that's how the girls would be trained in a particular direction with a particular focus. So the idea, the notion that African women were trampled on is only in isolated cases by those people who have their own
that they are looked at to be a weaker sex.
That is exactly what I'm saying. It depends on the person looking at it. Ideally, I don't really buy
and
that
where
idea.
they are standing.
Where I don't really buy the idea that women are a weaker sex. Women can do what men can do. It is only that some areas, some particular individuals try to gain advantage.
But should women be doing what men can do, or they can do best what they can do?
Well, because of their biological nature and structure, there are certain things they may not be able to effectively do. So considering that, let's be realistic. Because in as much as we want to do certain things, but then if something is far and above it becomes very difficult.
Yeah.
That's why traditionally, or modern times, our women put on trousers.
Yeah.
It is not criminal. Some people may criminalize it, but it is not criminal because of the nature of the work we do. If you are going to climb steps, you must
yes.
be flexible. So I don't have any problem. Mothers doing what men are doing.
Yeah.
And
And I think that's the only solution would be to make sure there is equity other than talking about equality. I think equality might not really be achieved, but equity, very, very possible.
Yeah, but also there are people who propagate bad gospel from the good gospel.
Right.
When we talk of equity, and then others say, no, we must be equal. Of course, being equal is something very difficult. Even equity may not be 100% per se. Because, for example, if a mother is pregnant 9 months, 7 months, you don't expect her to effectively perform. However, let's give them opportunity. They are very productive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So how can we be able to, use the culture that we have as Africans, not only Uganda, to be able to, instill the morals? The moral decadence today is too much. How can we use culture to be able to revamp the morals of us as Africans?
Thank you, Ivan. Now, one of the things we need to look at is we first of all must appreciate our identity. Let everybody understand and appreciate, because the moment we appreciate what we are, it will be very possible. But then, so therefore, it means if we have to appreciate, then we must start at inception. Let us start with the younger generation, the children. Tell them the importance of culture and how culture has helped to keep us united, how culture has helped to shape our morals, how culture has actually enabled us move from the other level to this level. Then too, the mode of the communication. Language is one root of culture. Our languages are actually being trampled on. As much as we are using English, I do appreciate, but I think it is the high time that we recognized the significance of the local languages and started communicating and teaching these children in our own and these other Ugandan languages. That one will enhance our love and our bond to the culture. And when we do that, we shall be moving in the right direction.
Wow.
Yeah.
What can be done to preserve the African culture, which is, diminishing time by time? What should be done to make sure that it's preserved?
One of them is what we have just talked about. Let's begin teaching it in schools. Then we also need to do a lot of documentation about the culture.
Yeah.
And then the other one, we detoxicate what some people have branded us that we are culture is primitive.
Oh, yeah.
We want to detoxicate that one and put it clear that no, culture is not primitive as you look at it. You are only maybe you are only having your own agenda. But then we actually talk positive about culture. We bring about the positive aspects and then how it can propel us to the next level. There is no nation which can grow if they are not united. One of the most uniting factors history has is culture.
Wow.
And so we must embrace it. And once we are united, we shall move on.
Lastly, what is the significance of culture in relation to morals to the young people?
Oh dear, my brother. Culture is very significant. Culture is not written, but it is passed on. And once it is well passed on, it will flow in the blood. Wow. Wow. You will find that there is a very big connection between culture and morals, because culture wants to shape people who will actually continue and propel the tribe, the area, to greater heights in terms of discipline, in terms of hard work, in terms of foresight, in terms of wisdom, and that one are all based in culture. I want to implore you that culture can play a very big role in leading us to the promised land, because once we have the culture, we shall be united, we shall be focused, we shall know what to do. And I implore everybody that you people who are out there, the museum has a lot of cultural collections. Take time, come and visit us, come and experience the Ugandan culture, African culture. Come and learn. To the children, give them time, allow them come. We have a lot of artifacts. They are actually for you. Come and learn, come and experience the real African culture at the Uganda Museum.
And I also give you an opportunity to talk to people who think African culture is backward.
People who think that African culture is backward are misled.
Oh, they are backward.
In fact, for lack of a better word,
they are backward.
They may be backward themselves. I didn't want to use that word, but but the African culture is not backward. It is actually you people who are misconceiving it that it is backward. Because look at the Buganda kingdom. It is one of the oldest kingdoms on the African continent, about 1,000 years, and it was held together by cultural norms. Look at the resistance of some of the kings of Uganda, like Kabalega. You know, it was because of culture. Culture binds people together. They are bound by their identity. They will love it and they will do one thing. So culture has never been backward.
Amazing. I do hope you've learned a thing or two from today's episode. Appreciating who you are, appreciating your culture, but again, using culture to be able to, you know, improve on our morals. As young people, like he said, culture is passed on from one generation to another. And let not our culture die with your generation, with our generation. Let's preserve it to be able to pass it on to the coming generations, such that they will have an identity to stand and say, we are Ugandans. I'm an Acholi, I'm a Muganda, I'm a Mnyankole, and all that brings us together as Ugandans because we appreciate who we are. I thank you so much for watching this show. Kindly follow me on all my social media platforms. On Twitter, I_Tumukunde, I_Tumukunde on Facebook, and at Tumukunde on Instagram. Thank you so much. See you next time.
Youth of Purpose, brought to you by Uganda First.